A woman walked into a shop with a check engine light and walked out with a quote for $9,700. Another guy paid $110 just to be told his gas cap was loose. Here's what nobody tells you. Most of the time, that light is something small, something cheap, and there's a $15 tool that tells you exactly what it is before anyone can talk you into a repair you don't need. And here's the part that should genuinely annoy you. A Ford dealer diagnostic just to plug in a scanner and read the code that's already stored in your truck typically runs $100 to $200. You're paying that before a single thing gets fixed, before anyone touches a wrench. And the tool they plug in to do it? You can buy your own version for $15 and read the exact same code in your own driveway in about 2 minutes. Let's clear up what this thing actually is first. Since 1996, every gas car and truck sold in America has been federally required to have the same standardized diagnostic system, called OBD2. Same 16-pin port, same trouble codes, across every brand on the road. That's why one cheap scanner works on basically any Ford built in the last 30 years. When something goes wrong, your truck stores a code, and that little port under your dash hands it over to anyone who asks. The dealer just happens to charge you $100 to ask, and here's a detail that makes it even better. Most auto parts stores, AutoZone, O'Reilly, Advance, will read that code for you completely free, right there in the parking lot, no appointment. So even before you buy anything, you can confirm this works. But owning your own reader means you can pull that code anytime, day or night, without driving anywhere. Here's the honest part most videos skip. The code does not tell you exactly what's broken. Ford's own diagnostic guidance says it plainly. The code points to a system or a circuit, not the exact failed part. So a scanner is not a magic answer machine. It's a flashlight. It tells you where to look. It narrows a $500 mystery down to a specific system, and that alone is enough to stop you from getting sold parts you never needed. Clearing a code doesn't fix anything either. If the underlying problem is still there, the code comes right back. Anyone who tells you a $15 tool diagnoses your whole truck by itself is lying to you. What it does is put you in the conversation instead of leaving you in the dark. Let's actually do it. Step 1, find your port. It's under the dash on the driver's side, at or just left of the steering column, usually facing down where you can't see it without ducking your head. On an F-150, it's up near your right knee to the right of the wheel. Federal rules require it to be within reach of the driver's seat, so it's never buried somewhere impossible. It's the same spot across basically every generation, so once you find it, you've got it for life. Step 2, plug in your scanner. The 16-pin connector is shaped so it only fits one way, so you physically can't get it wrong or damage anything. If it's a Bluetooth dongle, it just sits in the port and pairs with a free app on your phone. If it's a handheld reader, it's got its own little screen, and you don't need a phone at all. Step 3, turn your ignition to on. That's the position right before you'd crank the engine. Dash lights on, engine off. That's enough to read any stored code. Some live data, like fuel trims and oxygen sensor behavior, needs the engine actually running to watch it work. But for simply reading a check engine code, key on is all you need. Step 4, read the code and write it down exactly. It'll be a letter and 4 numbers, like P0171. Snap a photo of the screen so you've got it saved. There might be more than one code, so grab all of them. Then look it up. That exact code plus your specific Ford model and year, typed into a search bar, gets you straight to what system it's pointing at and what usually causes it on your engine. This is the step that turns a scary blinking light into a specific, researchable problem. Step 5, decide. Is this something cheap you can handle or something that actually needs a shop? And this is where knowing the code changes everything, because so many of the most common Ford codes are cheap fixes that shops love to turn into expensive ones. Take the most common one of all, a code like PSA442 or PSO455, an EVAP system leak. About 60% of the time, that's just a loose or cracked gas cap. Free to tighten. $10 to $30 to replace if it's actually worn out. Think about that. The most common EVAP code on the road is often fixed by turning a cap until it clicks. There's a documented case of a Lamborghini dealer quoting $1,300 for a fuel cap fault that a $40 Ford part fixed instead. Same idea works both directions. A tiny part behind a scary-sounding code. Then there's PIO71 or PIO74, a lean code, and this one's huge on Ford's EcoBoost engine specifically. Everybody's first instinct, and honestly a lot of shops' first move, is to throw an oxygen sensor at it. Here's the thing. The oxygen sensor is usually the part reporting the problem, not the part causing it. It's the messenger. The real culprit is often a dirty mass airflow sensor you can clean with a few dollars of spray cleaner, or a cracked vacuum line, or a PCV elbow that's split. On some Fords, it's even a known intake issue with a service bulletin behind it. Replacing the O2 sensor first before checking any of that is exactly how people waste a couple $100 chasing the wrong part while the real problem stays right where it was. P0300 through P0308 is a misfire. The last digit tells you the exact cylinder, so P0304 is cylinder 4, P0302 is cylinder 2. On Ford EcoBoost trucks, that's almost always worn spark plugs or a failing ignition coil. Plugs are under $15 each, coils are $30 to $80 aftermarket. But here's the warning that actually matters more than the money. If that check engine light is flashing, not steady, flashing, stop driving. A flashing light means an active misfire dumping raw, unburned fuel straight into your catalytic converter. And that's how a $30 coil turns into a $1,500 cat replacement. Steady light, you've got time to diagnose. Flashing light, pull over. And then there's PO420, catalyst efficiency below threshold, the one that scares everybody because it literally points at the catalytic converter. But here's what a lot of shops won't slow down to check. PIO420 is very often triggered by a lazy, worn-out downstream oxygen sensor, or by an upstream problem like a misfire or a lean condition, not by an actually dead cat. So, before anyone sells you a $1,000 plus converter, that code is your reason to ask them to prove the cat is truly the problem, and not just a cheap sensor reporting bad numbers. And that's the money shot right there, the whole reason this cheap tool saves real money. According to CarMD, which tracks tens of millions of these repairs every year, the single most common check engine repair in the entire country is replacing a catalytic converter, averaging around $1,300 to $1,500. Number 2 on the list is replacing oxygen sensors. Meanwhile, a loose gas cap causes roughly 1 in 25 check engine lights, and it's free to tighten. Sit with that gap for a second. The most expensive common repair and one of the cheapest possible fixes can both light up the exact same dashboard warning. Reading the code yourself is the entire difference between knowing which of those two you're actually walking into. Now here's the part that's specific to your Ford, and honestly, it's the biggest secret in this whole video. There's a free program called ForScan. It runs on a Windows laptop, pairs with a cheap adapter, and it unlocks Ford-specific data that generic scanners simply can't touch. We're talking ABS, airbag, transmission, body control modules, the enhanced Ford codes that a $15 generic reader will never show you. In a lot of cases, it can see as much as or more than the dealer's own tool. On top of reading everything, it can actually reconfigure things your truck already has built in. Tire size corrections after you change wheels, lighting behavior, chimes, features Ford locked, but your truck is fully capable of. The software itself is free. A solid adapter that handles Ford's 2 separate internal networks runs about $35 to $60. For a Ford owner who wants to go past just reading a code, nothing else on the market comes close to the value. But let me be honest about the limits, because this is where credibility lives, and it's stuff that protects you. A cheap generic scanner mostly reads engine and powertrain codes, the P codes. It usually can't touch your ABS or airbag systems, so if the light that's on is an ABS or airbag light specifically, a $15 reader won't help you there. That's what ForScan, or a price-year full system scanner, is for. Second, and this is a real one, about 99% of the cheap ELM 327 adapters sold online are counterfeit clones. Most work fine for basic reading, but the worst ones are flaky, drop connections, or report fake version numbers. And if you ever step up to using ForScan to actually program a module, a bad adapter can corrupt that process and brick the module entirely. So the rule is simple: read freely with anything. But if you're going to program, spend the extra money on a known good adapter. Read cheap, program careful. So what should you actually buy? If you just want to read and clear codes with a screen in your hand, A basic handheld reader runs around $30 and needs no phone at all. If you want live data and don't mind using your phone, a Bluetooth dongle paired with a free app is the cheapest way in, often $15 to $30. One tip for iPhone owners, you need a Bluetooth low-energy adapter specifically, since the old classic Bluetooth dongles only pair with Android. And if you want the full Ford experience with ForScan, spend the extra bit on a quality adapter that can switch between Ford's two networks, rather than the absolute cheapest clone you can find. Skip the $5 no-name units entirely. That's the price range where the counterfeits and the connection problems live. One more warning that'll save you a real headache. Never clear your codes right before an emissions test. Clearing a code or even disconnecting your battery resets what are called readiness monitors. Little self-checks your truck runs in the background. An inspection station will automatically reject you until your truck relearns them, which can take a week or more of normal driving to finish. So clear codes to test whether a repair worked. Absolutely, just never the day before your inspection, or you'll fail for a reason that has nothing to do with what's actually wrong. So how do you actually save the thousands the title promised? It's not one magic trick, it's leverage. When you walk into a shop already knowing your truck is throwing a P0442, you can't be sold a fuel system overhaul for what's really a gas cap. When you know it's a lean code, you can ask politely why they're quoting you an oxygen sensor before they've checked the mass airflow sensor or looked for a vacuum leak. When you know it's a P0420, you can ask them to prove the catalytic converter is actually dead before they replace it. The code is your second opinion sitting in your pocket before you ever hand over your keys. Honest shops have nothing to hide from a customer who knows the code. The ones that were counting on you not knowing just lost their easiest upsell. So, let's bring it all together. A $15 to $25 scanner reads the exact same code a dealer charges you $100+ to pull. The code points you to the system, not the exact part, so treat it as a flashlight, not a diagnosis. Most of the common Ford codes, EVAP, lean, misfire, are cheap fixes that shops love to inflate into expensive ones. ForScan takes it dealer deep if you want to go there. And you never clear codes right before an emissions test. That's how one cheap thing quietly saves you thousands over the life of your truck. If this saved you from getting talked into a repair you didn't need, do me a favor and subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what code your Ford's been throwing.